And now our host, John Methia, sits down with those in the know of the boating industry, talking tips and tech, fun and sun. We call it From the Cast, always an informative slice from the Drift podcast. Today, John spends some time with the folks who are building a national museum to honor, engage, educate, and inspire generations.
We're with Captain Wes Pulver, and he's got an exciting project going on down there in New London.
Thanks, John, so much for the opportunity to be with you today. And real excited about building the first and only National Coast Guard Museum for our nation. The Coast Guard was established in its predecessor services in 1790. And here we are just a few years later putting together a world-class museum on the New London, Connecticut waterfront for our Coast Guard, for our nation, for our maritime history. We started construction this last summer, initially for a bulkhead and fill, or really a site preparation to make sure that we can build that perfect museum on the perfect site along the Thames River. We're starting to put steel in the ground, and it will be built here in just a few years.
Now, for those who are unfamiliar with the significance of New London, tell us why New London, Connecticut.
Well, New London is one of the original 10, Coast Guard sites. Alexander Hamilton, back in 1790, envisioned 10 cutters around the country to enforcement for tariffs and if necessary, save lives and all those things that need to be done on the maritime. One of the 10 cutters, the Argus, was actually in New London, Connecticut from 1791, and was the longest serving of the 10 revenue marine cutters. And so it's a historic port. And then within New London now, it has a Coast Guard station. It's got the Research and Development Center for the Coast Guard. We've got the Coast Guard Academy, as well as the Leadership Development Center here for our service. So we're excited that not only is it a historic port for New London, but it's a vibrant port for the Coast Guard. So it's a nice port. Congress actually said it would be in New London, Connecticut, and we built it here, and we're thrilled to have it here.
It's going to be a spectacular facility. We've seen the renders. Tell me what most excites you about it.
Well, what's real exciting is to tell the Coast Guard story. So the building itself, which the part we're responsible for, it's going to be extraordinary. 80,000+ square foot building. It's got a 5-story atrium that has within it one of our H-60 Jayhawk helicopters and rescue swimmer on the tether lines, on the hoist line, there to save lives. So it's going to be incredible. It's 5 decks or 5 floors, of
5 decks.
Telling exhibit.
Coming from Wes, it's 5 decks, right?
To me, it's 5 decks with bulkheads and overheads. That's correct. I served a lot of ships over the years, but thrilled to have 5 floors that we can tell the Coast Guard story. But what excites me most, I think it's going to be just from my perspective, telling the story, and then 2, watching people come to that waterfront with within this huge atrium is a beautiful helicopter doing a rescue, that iconic image of the service on the waterfront. The Coast Guard Bark Eagle, America's tall ship, is actually going to be home ported right there adjacent. A vibrant New London waterfront. It's a Coast Guard city. We can't wait to have folks come and take a great look at what their Coast Guard has done for them over the last 232 years.
This isn't the new Coast Guard Museum. This isn't a new version of a Coast Guard Museum. This is the first Coast Guard Museum.
It is the first national. There's a few beautiful regional museums. There wasn't that one spot where the Coast Guard can have that platform to have that place to tell their story. Our nation needs to know what the service does for them, and it's important. And again, it's not just the Coast Guard history; it's a maritime history of our nation that'll be shown. So the more we tell that story and how it is to save lives and protect the environment, all that is as a national mission. It's good for our world, not just our nation. That's a good story to tell.
And remember, for the full Drift podcast, visit the Drift podcast at driftsociably.com and where you listen to podcasts.